Hello, I'm Tom Bleasdale, and today I'm going to talk about one of the worst symptoms of fibromyalgia, the exhaustion. Now, people talk about being tired, they talk about being exhausted, but until you've lived with chronic exhaustion, you don't really know how brutal it can be. For comparison, when I was much younger, I used to do mountain bike races. And after a 20-mile race, pushing yourself to the absolute limit for that length of time, you would be absolutely, utterly drained, completely exhausted for a couple of hours. You'd have some snacks, you'd have some energy drinks, and a little bit later you'd feel pretty much back to normal. You'd ache a little bit, a little bit worn out and a little bit tired, but you weren't exhausted anymore. It only lasted for a few hours, and that was even after the hardest races. The recovery was there. With fibromyalgia, the recovery isn't there. The exhaustion is relentless, and one of the worst things about it is you go to bed exhausted, completely drained, no energy to do anything, and then you wake up feeling completely exhausted, like you've had no rest at all. And then you've got to get through the day feeling like that. And that is something that's incredibly difficult to face. The level of exhaustion can fluctuate, and some days you feel a little bit less exhausted than others. Now, I can't remember a day since I've had this illness where I didn't feel exhausted and drained and tired from the moment I got up. And you have to push yourself to get through the day feeling that exhausted. Everything is an effort. Everything is so tough. Picking up the kettle to make a cup of tea, or even just picking up a bottle of water to pour some out, it's hard work. It's ridiculous. Having to rest your arms on the sink while you clean your teeth, even though it's an electric toothbrush. I mean, that's literally how bad it gets. In the shower, washing your hair, having to stop and rest because your arms and shoulders are aching from holding them up. Actually dropping your head down to try and make it easier to wash your hair. It's, these kind of things we shouldn't have to think about, we shouldn't have to do, we shouldn't have to be concerned by, but they're reality for us. It's what we have to deal with. Things that other people don't consider, like opening a bottle actually hurts our hands. It's pain. Other people are just like, oh yeah, it's a bit stiff. But it doesn't hurt. Us, it's actual pain trying to do that. And people don't understand what it's like to live with that every single day. Very few people understand what it's like to live with at all. But living with it day in, day out, every single day for years and years and years with no let up, it's very, very difficult to rationalize and to not be angry and frustrated at these things. Not being able to do things physically that you used to be able to do with ease is so depressing. Not being able to walk without pain, not being able to do anything without pain, things which you didn't consider before you were ill, that are now real tasks, real work, real effort, and you're going to hurt as a result. I mean, it's crazy. But that's the reality of fibromyalgia. The exhaustion is relentless. It is one of the worst symptoms of this condition, along with the pain and the memory problems. And the exhaustion is one of the worst. And hearing people talk about how, oh yeah, I'm so tired, I've had such a hard day. I used to work as a groundskeeper, so I've worked hard physical labour days. I know what it's like to do a hard job, and I know how tired I was afterwards. And yeah, I'd feel exhausted for a bit. I'd have something to eat, I'd have a cup of tea with some sugars in it, then I'd go out to meet my mates. Because I could. That's the level of exhaustion that hard work gives you. Doing it for weeks on end, yes, I did that. Didn't make any difference. On the weekend, I was still well enough, strong enough and healthy enough to go out and meet my mates and have fun. But since having this illness, I know what real exhaustion is. it's relentless. You don't feel better a few hours later. You're lucky if you feel a little bit less exhausted the next day. Being able to focus and concentrate on things when you are tired and exhausted is very difficult. Trying to learn new things is really tough when you're permanently exhausted. Trying to read a book can be challenging when you're tired and exhausted. And that's the reality of fibromyalgia and exhaustion. It's one of the worst symptoms and one of the toughest to deal with.